Mark Rogers TV Top 25 here after week 2 of college football. A lot of shakeup, obviously, based on the big results on Saturday night. All right, let's run it down 25 all the way up to number 1. If you have yet to hear my top 25 rankings, they're a lot different than the other ones that you hear because they're based solely on track record. So there's no assumption given to certain teams based on preseason perception. Try to stick to the facts based on the results on the field. So there's only been 2 games played. So, for example, Maryland is the number 12 team in the country. I don't think that they're the 12th best team in the country, but they just blasted Towson yesterday after going on the road and defeating Texas. Now, some assumptions have to be made because there haven't been enough games played, so we assume Texas is decent. They're a viable club that's probably going to win 6 to 8 games this year. So you got to make some assumptions in determining the rankings. All right, here we go. 25 all the way up to number 1. Like me on Facebook. Follow me on Twitter, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and, of course, the audio versions of all the discussions with some of the best bloggers and broadcasters in college football you can catch on iTunes, Podbean, and Stitcher. All right. 25, Washington State. Yes, I stayed up all the way through the overtimes to watch the end of this against Boise State, and yes, Washington State is number 25. I give them all the credit in the world from coming back from 21 down with about 7 minutes left to play, but Boise State blew that game. So right now, Washington State at 2-0 is number 25. Louisville at 24, Duke at 23. Interesting comparison here because they both play in the ACC, but Louisville has not racked up the wins that Duke has against quality competition last week, meaning Louisville with 2 wins. Purdue, that was a unimpressive win. And then North Carolina, of course, a decent team, I guess. We shall see. North Carolina losing to a bad Cal team the week before. So Duke, in defeating Northwestern, gets the edge. All right, Tennessee at 22, the win over Georgia Tech, of course, miraculously in the opener. Iowa at 21, overtime close win against an okay Iowa State team, but they did dominate Wyoming in the best NFL prospect at quarterback the week before. 20 is Utah with the dominating win against BYU, clamping down on the Cougars. We have yet to see if BYU's any good, having lost in resounding fashion against LSU in week 1. Washington hasn't played anyone. They're at 19. Stanford at 18, losing decidedly at USC, really being controlled in the second half. Oklahoma State at 17. We think they're good, but they have yet to play anyone. We shall see. We've got Ohio State at 16, of course, the win against a solid Indiana team, pulling away in the second half, and then a lackluster showing, but Oklahoma's Oklahoma, and they're really high in the rankings. But Ohio State drops all the way from 2 down to number 16. Virginia Tech at 15. They're undefeated. They've got the 1 win against West Virginia. Auburn at 14. Yes, they go on the road. They lose to Clemson, but I keep them pretty high in the rankings, give them credit for playing a close game against what should be a national championship contending team. Wisconsin has yet to play anyone. They're at number 12. They looked unimpressive in week 2. Maryland, as mentioned, at number 12. UCLA at 11. No, I do not think that the Bruins are the 11th best team in the country, but again, they have won 2 games, and they defeated a mid-tier SEC team in Texas A&M. Florida State at number 10 only has the 1 game played, but it was against Alabama, and their defense may be one of the 2 or 3 best in the country. South Carolina at 9. You won't see this anywhere else, but look at the resume. Beat North Carolina State by a touchdown, beat Missouri on the road. So they have 2 Power 5 wins. Very few teams have done that. LSU at 8, dominant in its 2 wins, 1 against BYU. Michigan at 7, didn't look good in week 2, defeated Florida, who will prove to be an 8 or 9 win team. Michigan at number 7. Penn State at 6 has looked really good through 2 games, but Pitt at home, Akron at home, they have yet to face anyone. Georgia at number 5. They go on the road to Notre Dame. We see that the Irish are improved, and Georgia guts out a win after defeating App State and losing Jacob Eason. USC at number 4 after the lackluster performance against Western Michigan, who is a pretty good ball club. USC looks dominant against what's going to be a very good Stanford team that's going to win 9 or 10 games. Clemson at number 3, OU at 2. So I give the Sooners the edge going on the road to Ohio State versus Clemson staying at home and defeating Auburn. But both looked impressive, but especially Oklahoma. So I give the nod to the Sooners at 2. And Alabama, forget the game against Fresno State. They walked through it. Of course, Florida State was the big win, 24-7. That's my top 25. Would love to get your comments right here on Mark Rogers TV.